Thank you, listeners and affiliates, for making the FishyFins.com internet radio network a success.
West Wall Boats, kayak experts selling the only pedal kayaks with a reverse, pedal forward or backwards. Need a paddle fishing board, SUP, or kayak? You need West Wall Boats shallow water outfitters. Comfort is king. In a native ultimate angler watercraft, you are king. If standing is your thing, they have paddle fishing boards complete with a Yeti. If you can dream about doing it, West Wall can help get you there. WestWallBoats.com. WestWallBoats.com. Located next to Giggles on Tamiami Trail, Sarasota.
So we just landed about 150 to 65 pound tarpon. We're now floating to Reviver.
Well, it's a beautiful Thursday. Well, there's a little front moving in. It's north of us. There's some clouds moving in this morning. There should be some nice fishing today anyway. It's supposed to be pretty breezy out there, so we'll probably stay inside the canals and close to an inland area. But I'm heading over to Coach Chris Taylor's place. We're going to do a little fishing show over there. He's been fishing all around Charlotte Harbor, mostly the Myakka cutoff in the Myakka area. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, some new baits that he's using, and let me get a little coffee here. Boy, that's good. And also, actually, I think we're going to head in his backyard. He has a little lake that runs behind his property, and it actually runs out to Price Street and Dual Roads and that whole area way back there in the back of Northport, and eventually drains out at Tippecanoe Bay on the saltwater side. So there's a lot of fish in there, and I got a little clip that I took while we were over there playing around with the fish before we took off and went fishing and did the show. So we're going to check out that little pond. Actually, it's a lake out there, a bunch of bass in there, some bluegill, turtles, little alligator playing around. And then we're going to get into our fishing show and our fishing report for Charlotte Harbor. Should be pretty cool. Chris has some great information. He's been trying some new lures, and they're working really well. We got some pictures of them, some pictures of some huge fish he's catching out there, and actually the baits he's using to catch them. So let me go ahead and do this lead in so we could check out Chris over at his lake behind his house, and then we'll get into our fishing show. So I'll be back here again soon. So y'all just keep on fishing, have a good time. You see me coming up, give me a story. Have a great day. Oh. All right, we're with Coach Chris Taylor, feeding the fish early morning, Thursday morning. Got a little alligator waiting there. He's going to grab something soon. I know that. Not. You don't think so?
Stay back, homie. You know what's good for you. You stay back.
Yep, everybody's hungry. Here's a great.
Like you.
There's a great place too.
He don't like that white shirt. He's like, oh.
Yeah, he don't like being
a new guy.
He's camera shy.
I think he eats gators.
Yeah, this would be a great place to test a lure, huh?
Oh man, the kids have fun here. This is Kid Alley. You got your kids, bring them on over. Guaranteed fish every cast.
Yeah, actually there's everything. Bass, bluegill, big turtles, you name it, they're in here.
You got water behind your house and you're not feeding them, you're missing out, that's all. I mean, this is very instant. You got all the fish species that you want in this fresh water, and it's like having a fish bowl. It's like having your own fish tank.
Well, doesn't this waterway go all the way around to the back of Price back there and all that?
9 mile dumps into here. This goes all the way out to Tippecanoe, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah, Alligator Bay goes out. Yeah, beautiful.
No, Alligator Bay, it doesn't go out there. That's over by Port Charlotte Beach.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I'm thinking Mayaca, right north of the cutoff there.
Tippecanoe. Definitely. Gotta feed the babies. That's the end of the food. I gotta go get them some more today.
Right.
Go out to Crosty's out in Punta Gorda.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You get like a 50-pound sack?
Yep. 50-pound sack of it. Pay about 15, 16 bucks. Lasts a month.
It keeps the fish here.
And you know, it keeps the kids happy. The kids come over here every day after school instead of going and playing video games and all that crap.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So they come over here and actually go for an adventure.
Yeah, get outside and get out of the house.
Man, who wouldn't want? I mean, after the fishing that we had yesterday on the harbor, who wouldn't want to be a fisherman?
Oh, it's just beautiful. I mean, I was out there with Dad, like I said, up around Alligator Creek and went out to the reef. I mean, cobia, forget it.
Cobia are everywhere.
You can't even get a bait down to the bottom without a shark or a cobia grabbing it and running. So it's just great. Chopped up a piece of a mackerel and forget about it.
Hold on. I was back up creeks yesterday because I was by myself.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And I spotted a sawfish that was bigger than this dock.
Oh, wow. Is that right? Oh, no.
I stopped the boat over top of it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, that is so unique. Went around the corner, 2 more corners, and there's another sawfish.
Whoa.
I'm like, oh, we will not tell the area of where the sawfish
yeah, I wouldn't either. That's awesome.
Because I really feel that they're going to try to make it so it's a no motor area, which these fish are very good at knowing when the boat comes and getting away from it.
That's true.
They're not no manatee who's just going doo-dee-doo.
Well, you know what?
The boat comes, I watch these fish, they book.
Yeah, they're like snook. They get spooked.
They go right over to a deep corner, and I see them just sit there. So.
Yeah, you know what? They got a lot of those no motor zones on the other coast, and you know, it's good if you have up in estuaries where boats aren't going to get anyway. But around here, you just don't have that much seclusion like you do on the other coast.
I would like a mount of those, that sawfish, though. I really would. I mean, hey, that
Can you even take them out of the water right now?
You're not allowed to.
Is that right?
The nose was like this long.
Oh, wow. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, it was huge.
He's coming up and getting brave now. He's not scared anymore.
He ain't brave. Homie. He thought he was going to be a little sucker yesterday. He come running up here yesterday.
Uh-huh.
I took and just twitched the bush. Watch this. Let's just see if Homie does this stupid again.
I'm going to come up and eat.
Homie come running over here.
There he comes. Sure, he thinks there's something over there trying to climb up. He's going to eat.
See? It's stupid.
Yeah, 2 years from now, he'll be eating your ass.
No, there's a big
Is there a big one? I figure a little
There's
one.
a monster big one. Is that what it's floating right there?
Floating this, it could be. Wild. Pretty cool. So, yep, so this is the water over at Chris's place. When you come by, get ready to go fishing. So you never know what you're going to catch. An alligator, a bass, a bluegill, a turtle. You never know. And he's coming for you.
All right, it's another beautiful Thursday morning. I'm over here with Coach Chris Taylor talking about the whole Myakka area, Charlotte Harbor, doing some great fishing. He showed me some pictures he had on his phone, some big snook. I know he's using these lures, and let me get this here. I got this guy's card because we're gonna.
Daniel's Deceivers.
Daniel's Deceivers. There it is, Daniel's Deceivers. We're going to get this guy here on the show. Matter of fact, we're going to get out there and do some video here pretty soon. We're just letting him kind of get everything together and looking pretty for us. And we're going to show up and we're going to do some video and talk to this guy because Chris is going to tell you some great fish stories about these baits. And don't let him lie to you. He's probably doing a lot better than he's letting on too. So let us know, buddy.
All right, guys. Well, let's start off with just this bait in general. This bait's been around for a long, long time, and I haven't ever had my hands on it until probably just recently, maybe 2-3 weeks now. But the explosive strikes is something that every fisherman looks for. When you're fishing a top water lure and you see a fish go completely airborne to take care of this thing, to kill it, to destroy it, now, then you got a lure.
You got a bait there. I mean, it's true. You got a bait there. It's one thing to get that quick hit on top and it knocks it around, but like you said, you know, Chris is out there fishing some areas here that have, I mean, they attack it. They don't hit it. They don't test it. They don't taste it. They attack it.
So, out fishing yesterday, some boys decided they wanted to take me on for a little bet for big fish, and I told them that they were basically spending their money on my lures now. So, within about 15 minutes into the contest, I had them come over to go ahead and measure a nice 38-inch snook and basically get their money. And while they were there, I decided to show them how this Daniel's Deceiver lure works. So I proceeded to cast out around a point and start to bust this lure on top. And before you knew it, these guys were giggling and just acting like little schoolgirls because they thought it was so funny that this thing makes so much noise and it's so big and bulky. What's ever gonna hit that? And just about the time they got that out of their mouth, this thing got busted at about 36 inches off the water. And following that was another snook coming 36 inches out of the water trying to snatch this plug out of midair. And now those guys are going to be owning a lot of Daniel's Deceivers. Okay? You don't have to tell them once, you don't have to tell them again. They're going to be having those plugs tied up for the rest of the day.
Well, you know, the proof's in the pudding when you're there and you see it happen. It's, you know, it's funny. I've heard a lot of guys say that, well, you know, that's kind of a big, loud lure. You know, nature's funny. You can catch some of the biggest fish out there with the tiniest flies. I've seen guys pulling some record tarpon, record snook on little flies. And in the same instant, I've seen some guys use some gigantic artificial baits and pulling some record tarpon and record snook. You know, it's all in the presentation. It's all in the bait. And, you know, I was fishing some freshwater canals over by Burn Store Marina back in the 80s. And there was a guy with us, and we're all using these little tiny buzz spins and these little baits. And he ties on this big 4-inch wooden bait, looked like it was made probably back in 1930-something, and was actually wood. I mean, it was actually looked like wood.
Like and, Daniel's Deceiver.
You know, it was funny, and we're laughing at him, and he's like, you know, you want to catch big fish, you got to use a big bait. And he throws it out there, and I'll be damned if he doesn't pull in the biggest bass I ever saw come out of one of those freshwater lakes out there. And, you know, and these deceivers, when I saw the one that Chris had, I'm like, well, that's a pretty good size. It looks like the one he has looks like a big needlefish. And, you know, he's out there, I believe that's your cousin you were out with, wasn't it? Or
no, that's a good friend of mine,
good friend?
Richie, that I work with.
Well, yeah, he's out with Richie, and, you know, Richie's casting it around with him, and they're pulling snooking. I mean, big snooking with this thing.
7 snook that day on that lure, and they were all explosive strikes. All of them were memorable.
Now, you know, with that, you're talking about big snook, you know, I'm sure there were some trout, jacks mixed in there. You get these fish that hit big fish like that, usually a bait, a lure like that's torn up, the hooks are loose, the side of it's ripped up, and I looked at it, it looks like it just was finished. Looks like brand spanking new.
Quality,
and
quality,
yeah, exactly.
Right from the get-go. Use all stainless material, and uses big enough hooks to handle these fish. So, I mean, the only thing I gotta tell you to use with this lure is you better be wrapping 50-pound test leader material on the front of it if you want to keep onto this lure and use it for another day, because there's some really, really big explosive strikes. I mean,
well, I tell you what, too, right now with all the warm water that's up in Charlotte Harbor, the Myakka, the Peace River, that whole area, and it's coming up high now. You know, in the summer, our tides, you know, increase at least a foot, maybe 2 foot or so in the summer. And, you know, so the big fish come up, they're looking for those bait fish that are all over the damn place out there, just crazy bait fish everywhere. So, you know, we got a lot of big fish, and you're going to have, you know, I know Chris was out there a couple of weeks ago around the Myakka, and he caught a couple of cobia on topwater lures, which is pretty unique. You know, cobia generally live, you know, mid-water, and they like to live around the drum and stuff. So, you know, when you have cobia hitting top water, you've got some good fishing environment.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, this isn't the only lure that this guy makes. He makes a diving lure.
Oh, that shad, yeah, I saw that. It's fat too. It's this fat one.
That lure runs as close to a threadfin herring as I've seen in a long time. I can't wait to put my box full of those lures because they got all the different sizes. I mean, you're talking a lure that you can troll behind the boat and probably bring home the biggest trophy fish you've ever seen. And it's built good enough that it will hang on and fish again and again and again.
Well, now we've got a couple of pictures of these lures working, so Chris is going to email them to me this morning, so we'll have them for the show. And the lure he's talking about, that fat shad, it's really cool looking, really nice, big eyes, clear, and he's got a nice picture of it in the mouth of a nice sized redfish. And also the other one he was using, the needlefish, the long one, was definitely in the mouth of a couple of big snook. So we definitely have those pictures up for you during the show so you can check them out. And matter of fact, while you're listening, if you click on the photo image that goes with this show, you can see the pictures that we have included with it. So that's pretty cool too. But yeah, well, that's cool stuff with lures. But tell me about some fishing, buddy. I know you're out there fishing around. I know you're not going to give me your hot, sweet spots.
Well,
how about in general?
Here, how about a sweet spot? Charlotte Harbor, the whole thing, boys and girls. It's ready to fish. It's good on every point. The water's flowing really good. If you find bait, you find fish. I've seen just about every kind of fish you want to catch down here. I've seen mackerel running wild. I've seen schools of redfish. I even seen a tarpon flip off my bow yesterday right in front of the Elgin Bridge that was probably 6 foot easy and just feeding heavily on threadfins. Mm-hmm. But some of the best reports I'm getting right now are the Peace River Bridge. It's pulling big, huge cobia all from around that area. You got triple tails showing up like crazy. I got a buddy just reported a 10-pound triple tail coming over there yesterday. And these boys are just hanging baits off the bridge. So if you got a boat, let's get over there and just really show these boys how it's done. You know, because they're living life on the concrete, which is about half the fishermen out there. Because when you live in paradise, you can touch the water.
You can. I mean, you know, and I'll tell you what, I was going over the bridge Sunday morning and meeting Dad over at the marina to get on the boat. And there was a guy about halfway up the bridge, probably a good 20, 30 foot off the water, probably about 20 foot off the water. And he was reeling a cobia in and flipped it over the rail. As soon as I got about there, I almost stopped to get a picture of it. And I didn't want to get pulled over by the police, so I didn't. So, but beautiful cobia, he ripped right out of the water there. But I'll tell you this much, when we got in the boat and we were riding around the bridge, you got to be careful because the fishing is getting good and there's a lot of guys that fish up and down right outside the channel. So if you're playing outside of that channel area, watch those hooks coming down because you really don't want to catch one of those hooks on your boat or on your head or anything.
Everybody play nice now.
You gotta be careful. So watch the fishermen. Fishermen gotta watch the boats along these bridges because the fishing's good and there's a lot of traffic out there. But what else, bud? I know you're playing up in the Myakka too quite a bit. What are you doing up there?
The Myakka Cutoff is my playground always. That place is on fire. I don't think you can go on any shoreline in there right now without pulling out a trophy of any different species. I'm pulling trout well over 20 inches in there. I'm pulling redfish up to 35 inches in there. Anywhere from probably 24 to 35 inches. And I said, snook, you just don't want to know about the snook that are coming out of there right now because they're big as your leg or longer.
Big snook. And I tell you what, I got Ernie, the guy that owns Impact Lures over on the other coast of Florida. He's going to send us over. It's a 4.5-inch purple topwater walker. and really cool design on it. I've never seen anything that's very unique. I know Chris loves purple for snook, and when it gets here, we're going to throw it around a little bit and see how it does. But I'm looking forward to using that. What are you using for color? Are you still playing in purple, or what are you doing for snook?
Well, I tell you the truth, right now, what's really working for me is a chartreuse with a green. So anything in that level, the lures you'll notice that we're fishing with have chartreuse on the belly. They have green on the top, and they're basically, I think that is an easy to see, and our water clarity right now is not so good. So a brighter color, easier visibility. They're hungry. These guys are ready to eat right now. It's springtime. They're fattening up. They're getting ready to go have babies. Snook are out for the next 4 months. So, you know, if you guys catch a nice snook, just release it beside the boat if it's a big fat one. But
get a picture and send it to us first, but then release it.
Yeah, but you know, just treat them nice, because these next 4 months, you got to think of them. They're like pregnant girls. They're going to be feeding up big time. They're going to be heading out to the passes. One thing I am noticing, I am seeing a lot of juvies back in my Mayaka cutoff area, back up in the ponds and in the little creeks and stuff like that. So these guys are spawning good. Our stocks are looking good. So you guys treat them nice, and we'll have them around here for our grandkids and for a lot of other people to come down and enjoy them from up north.
No, it's true, and I'll tell you what. Right now, I was up at North Rotunda Locks, and I was fishing that little estuary up in there, and you can get in there with the bow rider on high tide, and now I was all over big trout, and all of them are gigantic right now. They're all females. They're all full of roe. I don't keep them. I don't need the fish to eat, so I don't keep them. And I'm not a big fan of eating trout anyway. But you got to be careful when you're handling them, because trout, the scales come off easy. Keep them wet, keep your hands wet. If you can, keep it in the water. Lip it properly, stuff like that. Because
don't lip a trout.
Well, with
your boga grips.
What's it called?
Unless you like that toothy critter in your thing.
Gonna tear you up.
You got some nice teeth in those trout.
Phew, a terrible lure too. But it's a good time to get the fish. But it's also, you got to be careful. Throw them back in. Let them have their babies. Right now the estuaries and fisheries are just, the hatcheries are just going nuts. The natural estuaries where they hatch. And, you need those. We need them. A matter of fact, I seen a guy collecting fiddler crabs. I was over at El Jabin at the bridge. And he's a real nice guy. He come down from Canada. He's running around. He heard fiddler crabs or all the roar. And he's running around trying to collect them. And, I looked in the bucket, and he had a whole bucket full of baby stone crabs. And, I was like, look, bud, you not realize this, but one thing, you got a $250 fine per stone crab in that bucket, and those are a protected species. And, they look like fiddler crabs when they're tiny like that, but if you start digging around the oysters, then you're going to find baby stone crabs. So, you just got to be careful and definitely support our environment. These guys locally really depend on this environment, the fish, the waters, to make a living. So we definitely want to respect it and take care of it.
Well, especially with the stone crab thing. One thing I do as a catch and eat fisherman
right?
is I inspect what's in these fish's bellies so that I can really target what they're eating. And one thing I've noticed with the reds here lately is they have a bunch of baby stone crab crab in their belly, and they're fat. The ones that have tons of crab in their belly are upwards of, over the, ones you want to take to a weigh-in. If you were in a tournament, you'd want to take them. They're fat fish, and their meat is very fat, has fat layers on it. It's very tasty meat too. So.
Well, it's hard to get in that slot size now. Like you said, it's the redfish and the snook. They're up deep in the mangrove roots. That's where all those crabs are harvested. That's where all their little eggs hatch. So, they're eating those babies. They're full of crabs. They're very healthy and fat now. That's really why it's hard to get the slot size now, because they're so fat. They're eating so good right now. But, yeah, definitely with the snook, like Chris said, get your picture of it, send it to us, let them go. And, again, when it comes to, the environment and our fisheries, estuaries, you need fish, you need to eat them. By all means, take them, clean them, eat them. If you don't, throw them back.
With the laws the way they are, you're not taking home a boatload of fish anymore. You're taking home one fish. So, I mean, you're definitely not hurting the population taking home one fish.
No.
But right now, snook's going to be out for 4 months, so you're going to be able to take home one redfish. And that's not a lot of fish, and redfish is really good, especially when they're eating with stuffed crab.
Sure. I mean, think about it. You go down and buy stone crabs, you're going to pay through the nose for them. So
these guys eat it, so you know you got stone crab fed.
Yeah, and I tell you, like Chris was saying earlier, he was talking about using the chartreuse top water, that he's really working well. And now it's springtime. You know, we're getting these springtime rains. The water's flowing down from the rivers, and we do get that kind of that algae kind of greenish brown murk going. So
water.
Yep. So now's the time that you get into those more brighter colors that really try to get a little of attention.
Gorgeous though, the water flow and our flats are an all-time great. I mean,
nice.
Our flats are coming back beautifully since they've not been able to be netted or dragged or anything on for a long time. So our flats are starting to really replenish nicely. Basically, if you get out on the flats and you look and you slow down, you'll be able to see these fish. One thing I realized, we went out Monday, and I realized sometimes just casting out across the flat, I was getting huge 30-plus inch redfish that were just crushing topwater lures. And not only that, but they were just crushing. The redfish are on fire right now. They're hungry as the snook are. And these guys are coming up and crushing topwater lures. So that really lets me know that they're feeding heavy. For the most part, a spoon, a jig is working very great out there for catching these fish on a regular basis.
Yeah, I was talking to Scott Larson. He likes to use spoons on redfish too up in Tampa Bay in the Pasco area. And he says they're very good on spoons now. He's jigging spoons and really working them fairly slow, not going too crazy with them. You know what it is too, you work any bait too fast, you're going to catch the fish you don't want.
The little ones are
exactly
fast. The big ones are slow, boys.
The truth of the matter is, if you get a spoon and you pull it across the flats quick, you're going to end up with some kind of a ladyfish or a mackerel. You slow it down, then you'd be playing with the redfish and something like that.
Yeah, you want it to dance. That's why suspension baits work very good for snook and redfish, because they can take a look at it, and they can decide, and then they can crash. Mm-hmm. They don't have to make a split decision and try to go after this bait or chase it down. So a lot of them will chase it down. If they're really hungry, they will chase it down. But if you're working it too fast, you're to the boat before they decide to crash it.
Yep, it's true, and snook spook pretty easy. So if they see something moving too fast or getting too crazy, if they're sitting and wait, they'll spook pretty easy. Now any fish, when they're feeding and there's a little frenzy and the water's moving, there's bait fish around, they'll hit any damn thing that moves. So if they're in competition with some other fish in a school, they're a little more apt to go after it. But I'll tell you what, the flats have been sweet. I was with Dad off Alligator Creek in that area just north of Redfish Key and Pirate Harbor there. And those are coming back nicely. About 2 years ago when we were out there, those flats were so sandy. I mean, you really had to hunt for grass. And anybody that knows you're just not going to catch nice fish on sand. Might get some flounder and stingray, but that's about it. But catfish. So you got to get on grass. And we were down there this weekend, and that whole area from where the old hidden lake that goes back into PGI is, that old hidden, they call it the Captain's Cove or whatever that was.
Oh yeah.
From that area down below Ponce de Leon Park right to Pirate Harbor, I mean, there are huge patches of grass, not just up around the mangroves, but along the shoals and hanging off them now. So great fishing. I mean, if you want trout, you want mackerel, and you want to get up on the flats and get some redfish, we come shooting across the channel going into Alligator Creek and came on the south end of the flats, or on the south end of the creek entrance. Yep, right down here. And I swear there must have been a school of at least 100 reds right there. I mean, right there on the edge of the flats.
From this canal right here, Frank, you can see how it has the tongue that sticks out here of the sandbar. Well, the sandbar is protected here. There's like a little bump sandbar right here. Mm-hmm. All the way down through here and around down to about right in here. That, to me, is one of the primest spots. Think about it. I mean, it's a point where the water's flowing in here. These fish just stack up there big time. Oh,
absolutely. And we were down in that area, and when you're going through there, all the charter boat captains were all lined up along that shoal fishing the mangroves. So, they know it's a hot fishing spot. And that's that area where Ponce de Leon Park comes out, and right down around the bend to Alligator Creek. That whole shoal, that whole shoreline, there's little islands up in there if you get in there tight, and just redfish.
Why it's called Punta Gorda. It's Big Fat Point.
Big Fat Point.
Big Fat Point. That's our Big Fat Point.
And you get up to the mangroves, you're on the reds and snook. You get out on the flats, you're on the trout. You get off of the flats, cobia. You're gonna
cobia stream that corner
mackerel.
Like crazy. If you have a chum bag on that corner, you will bring the cobia, shark. You will bring everything you can imagine you can just sit there with your anchor, have your Bud Light cocktail, and catch it all. Okay.
Just wait for the line to run.
Yeah, I mean, while you're bored, you can throw some lures, and while you're waiting, you can throw some junk bait out the back. You're gonna be busy most of the night catching fish. So, bring lots of cocktails.
It's good. We were out on the artificial reef, and as a matter of fact, I've got this red bucktail jig, a big 2-ounce one, and I threw it out there down about 12 foot on a bobber, and I just gooped on some Procure, some of the crab scent stuff. And
you gotta use,
and
folks.
oh man, I put it on there and it's floating around over the reef, and I bet you within about 10 minutes, there goes the bobber. I had my first cobia. And then the next one was a red drum, a black drum.
Black
Good
drum.
Christ.
Yeah, there's lots of black drums.
Big black drum.
Big black drums.
And
too.
just great fishing. So, even with artificial bait and using scents without, a piece of fish on there, I'm catching cobia out there in drum. So they're out there, they're all over the place.
Procure scent is a godsend for a fisherman, because now you don't have to run over to go fishing. You throw your lure. I don't care if it's a top water, it's a jig, it's whatever. You slime some Procure on that thing and you throw it out there, and the fish don't know the difference.
And I'll tell you what too, now Procure has a new line of the same type of scents that are dyed. So if you're using a white shad and you want to add a little chartreuse to it scent, you just tap it on the tail, it turns it green, and off you go with the scent in the green. And now it'll wear off after about 3 or 4 casts.
30 casts.
Yep, something like whatever that is.
That
30
Procure
casts?
stays on for quite a few casts. I'll go about 30 casts in between. All I do is reach down and touch my lure. If my lure doesn't feel slick like a little baby oil on it or something, I go ahead and reapply. But I can tell you right now, you get a fish that's trailing you, and you got scent on, you're getting hit.
Yep.
You got no scent on it. He's just looking to see what he can do with it, and then it gets to the boat a little too quick, and then you've got a fish that's spooked by the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I've lived it with the Zero Spook. It's such a light bait, and you get a big snook that hits that Zero Spook, it'll knock it out of the water. Now you have a little bit of a Procure on it, and it'll knock it out of the water, then dive right on top of it to get it. It's not just going to play with it and go, what the hell is this, and knock it side to side. And I mean, it's going to hit it one time and go, oh yeah, that's what I wanted, and bam. So it does work. I saw the difference one afternoon fishing Spring Lake with the Zero Spook. Miss, put a little Procure,
well,
slam.
You'll be making the move, Mr. Frank, over to a Daniel's Deceiver, because that bait sits a little heavier in the water, and a little bit heavier in the water, like a spook sits up nice and high and makes that good dunk, dunk, dunk noise. Mm-hmm. This bait, for some reason, must make a wake that does that same thing, and it's heavy enough so that they're sitting down.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you what too, this is family after family. This guy has been building lures for a long time. Like I said, this guy's family's been in the lure building business for generations. I was checking some information out about him. Really cool. His dad built lures for years. Now he took over the business and he's doing it. So, I mean, they've definitely tested what works and they know what works.
With these guys here, they grew up in a place called Arcadia that's down the road. And they didn't have the Walmart right on the corner or the lure shop right around the corner to run down when that big snook took your lure away for the 10th time. So they ended up having to make these lures out of necessity for the love of fishing. They could not get the company to send them enough of these lures so that they could go fishing like they like to go fishing. So they ended up creating these lures out of a necessity. And thank God for a necessity, because these lures are the bomb.
Yeah, they work. I mean, like I said, we're going to have these pictures posted with the show so you can check them out. But they work well. They catch big fish. And again, they've been tailored for these waters for the past, 4 or 5 generations of that family. So they know the waters. They grew up. They lived here. They fished here. And now they're building baits that work here. And, that's what we like to see. You'll notice that on this network, you're going to see a lot of locals that design their own baits, they engineer their own baits, they fish them in the local waters, and local fishermen use them. And that's really what we're looking for, people with talent that have stuff that works. But I'll tell you what, we're getting ready to go fishing. I want to give you guys this guy's website so you can check it out. It's danielsdeceivers.com. I know that they're doing some updates right now, so I'm not sure if they're ready to go. But again, his website is www.danielsdeceivers. It's DANIELS DECEIVERS.com, or you can call him 941-627-3094. And his name is Bill Daniels, and that's Junior. His dad started this business and he took it over. So again, you're talking to generations of engineers. Very cool stuff. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to go fishing. Chris, I do appreciate it. And we got a lot of stuff coming up this weekend. There's probably going to be a lot of rain. Pardon me, but I'm going fishing anyway, so as long as there's no lightning, I'll go. But we'll see what happens. You guys try to get out, check out the radio show, check out the website, www.fishyfins.com. And any pictures, any videos, any recorded anything, email it to me, thefish@fishyfins.com. And hey, have a great day out there fishing. Take it easy, Chris.
Yep, see you guys later.
Well, I sure appreciate it, Chris. Always a great show with Chris. You know, he's fishing all over Charlotte Harbor. He's all around the Myakka cutoff area. You know, even the Peace River, the West Wall. So he's all over fish. He was born and raised, well, actually not born here, but he was raised in this area and on these waters. His kids fish all over these waters. So really cool. We even got a nice shot of little Jake with a big fish there. I think he had a big bass, if I remember right. So really great show. We're going to get into these Daniels deceivers, some baits that Chris discovered out in Arcadia. Bill Daniels Jr., his father, Bill Daniels Sr., started the company, and I don't know if he started it or if he just took it over for his father, but it's been in the family for some generations. They make their own custom handmade lures, and as Chris showed you there, those lures work. And those are big fish. I mean, those are really nice big fish. And so we know the baits work. They're a local bunch. They're right here outside of Charlotte Harbor, actually right in Arcadia. So a little ride from Charlotte Harbor inland, and you're there. And some good fishing out there too. I mean, as far as bass fishing and everything, you get out around Arcadia, great bass fishing. The north end of the Peace River, all the fingers up there, just great fishing. So these should be some great baits, and looking forward to seeing a lot more of them and meeting the maker. So that should be awesome. Thanks again, Chris, and we're going to be back with a lot more fishing reports. We got reports coming from Cocoa Beach. We got a report coming from Pasco County up in Tampa, and so we're going to have some great stuff going on. So everybody stay tuned. Check it out, FishyFins.com. Again, you see me coming towards you with a camera and a mic. I'm looking for a fish story. So not the game warden, not the IRS, not law enforcement, just Frank from FishyFins.com. So if you would, be cool and give me a great story. I'd love to have it, and we'll make you famous. Y'all have a great day fishing.